And we continue at 1:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
David writes in at johnnydontlikeshow@gmail.com. My son-in-law is the president of his HOA, and he always wears a T-shirt that says, defund the HOA.
What do they say that politics is most vicious at the most local level?
Nothing's more local than an HOA.
Maybe a marriage. I don't know. If you're on hold and you want to weigh in on the HOA madness, we'll get to your calls later on in the hour at 800-222-5222. But right now, it is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is a member of the California State Assembly representing Fresno. You can find him on X at David Tangipa. Assemblyman David Tangipa, welcome.
John, it's a pleasure to join you.
You have a lawsuit out right now against California Governor Gavin Newsom and Proposition 50. You were trying to get Proposition 50 overturned in the courts. Can you explain the impetus for your lawsuit to us and tell us whether or not you think you're going to be successful?
Yes. So we are suing the state of California for racially gerrymandering the state under Proposition 50. They use race to justify their lines. And if you do, you can do that under the Voter Rights Act. But you must provide strict detail, strict data. You have to follow a protocol. There was a standard and a test that was called the Jingles test that actually allow you to race-based redistrict. When my colleagues brought these bills forward, they did not give us any of the data that would actually constitute why they race-based redistrict. Therefore, they violated the Constitution. They're actually hurting other ethnic groups in this state, and we are going to make sure that we're holding them accountable.
It's not even just that. The Constitution's very clear that congressional districts have to have roughly the same population. And you look at the new map that they drew, and clearly that's not the case. We know that California is going to lose between 3 and 5 congressional seats in the next census because we've had so many people move out and so many people move to other states who are going to gain seats in Congress and gain electoral votes. That being said, even within the state of California, we know, given things like enrollment in school districts, that we've had population shifts within the state where places like Los Angeles County have been losing population, Oakland has been losing population, and they've been gaining population in places like the Inland Empire, Orange County, and the Central Valley. But you look at this map, and they dumped another congressional district into LA County, which we know is losing a ton of population, and they stole from other parts of the state that we know are growing in terms of the numbers. So how in the world could you look a judge in the eye and say these congressional districts are equal in population when you know that they're not?
Well, their biggest thing is they are allowed to use the census data from the last census that was taken. So we do know that we have seen pretty much 250,000 of people leave this state on average every single year. California has been trying to backfill that with illegal immigration because they know that we have a very large problem in blue states all across the nation of immigration from the local residents. And this is actually something that I have gone to the White House to talk to them about because I'm a representative of the state of California. I love this state. The state has changed my life. I have a business here. My family's here. We're too poor to leave. So we're not going anywhere, and it's worth fighting for. But when I went to the White House, I asked them, what's the plan? And they said, if California doesn't want to come into compliance with the federal government and the United States, then you guys are going to have to deal with it on your own. If you're the 5th largest economy in the world, prove it without the federal credit card. And then we're not going to bail you out of your failures because the faster people leave your state, the better Texas gets, the better Florida gets, the better Montana gets. And all of these states will be voting Republican, will increase in their electoral college, and then we won't even need to care about the blue states anymore because they won't have enough power in their small base.
I talked to people in Washington, D.C., both Republican and Democrat, And both of them seem to be on the same page when it comes to Prop 50 in California, which is from the point of view of Speaker Mike Johnson, it is cheaper to defend seats in places like rural Indiana or Texas or other states that have smaller media markets than California. When they have to come out and they have to spend a ton of money to defend Ken Calvert every time, or other members, Kevin Kiley, who are in districts that Democrats could theoretically win, it costs them a fortune to defend those seats here. But if they swap these seats out for safer seats in Texas or Indiana or wherever, where they're much less expensive in terms of the media markets, then they benefit where it costs them less to defend the same number of seats. From the Democrats' point of view, the same thing is true. If they have to come here and fight for those seats every time, it costs them a fortune. So if they just rig the elections in California and the Republicans rig the elections in Texas, it's cheaper for them too. And there just doesn't seem to be an appetite in Washington, D.C. among both parties to relitigate the mid-decade redistricting.
I believe you're 100% correct. But that, for me, I don't think is a justifiable reason to not do something for the people of California. That is my position as a representative here. I asked my colleagues that if the only thing that you want to bring from Texas is the worst part about it, which is the political gerrymandering that they're doing, that is wrong. How about we bring in their utility cost? How about we bring in their grocery cost? How about we bring in their housing costs? Because we here in California, this is the greatest asset on the history of the world. It is the most expensive, it is the most prosperous state and the most prosperous nation. And the people here don't feel that. That is wrong. That is the leadership here. I, again, love this state. My mother immigrated here. My father was a veteran here. My family is here. I went from homeless to housed to a business owner to sponsoring my own mother's immigration here. The state is worth fighting for. And I'm not going to let, whether it's the people in Washington or anywhere else, give up on this state because it's not worth giving up.
What is the chatter in Sacramento in terms of what's going to happen, assuming that Prop 50 stands? What's going to happen during the next census? Because I don't think anyone believes the commission's coming back. If Prop 50 stands, that commission is going away. And if the commission goes away for the congressional lines, there's going to be an unbelievable layer of resentment among the Democratic members of the state legislature that some of them have purple districts where they have to fight for re-election. And if you're going to gerrymander the congressional districts, you might as well gerrymander the state legislative districts too. Is the chatter that if Prop 50 stands in court, they're going to try to do that not just at the congressional level next time, but at the state legislative level too?
I wholeheartedly believe so. I think that this was an attempt to systematically dismantle the Independent Redistricting Commission. But what I want to show is with Prop 50, the way that they pushed this whole thing through, the way that we have a $35 billion deficit looming in this state year over year until 2029, the way that we spent $400+ million on a 911 system that doesn't work, the way that we have now discovered multiple millions of dollars that is being spent monthly on phones that don't operate in the EDD department. We've got a $20 billion liability on fraud there. We have fraud in SNAP benefits. Is what I want to show to the people why they should not give more power to the people who are running this state into the ground. If Texas has a $24 billion surplus and we have a $35 billion deficit, it seems like that's not a federal issue. That is a state issue. And if I can make people realize that the people here are the ones who are causing our problems, it's not the president, it's not the people in Congress. It's your governor, it's your state legislature, it's the assembly, and it's the Senate. It's on us. That's how we protect our independent commission in the future, is we've got to pull the wool from these people. There is a toxic relationship with the supermajority in Sacramento and the people of California. But this opportunity and these material failures that are permeating right now will give us that ability if we as conservatives want to step up and stand up and actually fight for California. And I'm trying to pave the way for that because it's conservative cannibalism and incompetence that is actually hurting this state. I don't blame the Democrats for winning and getting everything that they want. I look internally and I say it's up to us to change it.
We're speaking with Assemblyman David Tangipa, who you can follow on X at David Tangipa. Assemblyman, Gavin Newsom is termed out. Gavin Newsom clearly has moved on from California. He's running for president. The only issues he wants to opine on are federal issues. He wants to position himself as the chief rival to Donald Trump every opportunity that he has. Someone in 2026 will be elected to replace him as governor of California. And right now, I've got to say that it's disturbing how that field is shaping up, where you have any number of candidates who are polling pretty much all bunched up near each other. So right now, I guess it's anyone's race. But many of the candidates, particularly the Democratic candidates, are doing what Newsom is doing. All they want to talk about is the federal government. They only want to talk about Donald Trump. They want to talk about suing Donald Trump. They want to talk about how much they hate Donald Trump. They want to talk about how they voted against Donald Trump. But none of them seem to have much to say about the problems that are facing the state of California, the problems that would be under their umbrella if they were to be elected governor. They seem to not be particularly fluent in any of those subjects. They seem to not care about any of those subjects. It seems like they regard them as a distraction from what they really care about, which is hating on Donald Trump. If the state of California gets another governor who doesn't care about what's going on here, and we have 4 more years of an absentee landlord, I don't see how we solve any of these issues.
I think you're 100% correct, but this is what I have seen in the data is actually, this is what Prop 50 was a prime example of what you're talking about. The almost 75% of the people of California, consistent voters, support protecting the Independent Redistricting Committee. Then the question was asked, if this was to combat Donald Trump, would you consider pausing the Independent Commission so you could combat Donald Trump? And almost 84% of high propensity Democrat voters said yes. So it's actually very reflective of their values that even though they know that the Independent Commission is a good thing, it is the right thing to do, it is to make sure that politicians don't draw their lines for their own gains, that they are willing to pause their own morals and values because Donald Trump is worth it. Donald Trump is worth the fight. We've seen that in just their language when it comes to Charlie Kirk. We've seen that in their language when it comes to, I've been called a racist for thinking girls should have protected spaces and boys shouldn't play in girls' sports. And that's where we're looking at this right now, that we have a bunch of candidates that are campaigning against Donald Trump because the base here has that toxic relationship that every problem they have been able to pin it on Donald Trump. It is one of our jobs as electeds here in this state to really show the people it's not Donald Trump. I remember when I was giving a speech on Prop 50, I said in January of 2025, this is before Donald Trump came into office, Biden was still leaving office. The average home price was $850,000. We had the highest utility costs in the nation and the highest poverty in the nation. It is now September 2025. Donald Trump has been in office for the last 6 months. The average home price was about $850,000. We have the highest utility cost in the nation, and we have the highest poverty in the nation. The only common denominator in that is the state legislature and the governor. That means it's our fault. Under 4 years of Biden, we had that. Under 4 years of Trump in 2016, we pretty much had that as well. And so if we're looking at it from that lens, a lot of the people that are running for office, they are incompetent. There is no way around it. The people who are leading at the front running portion of it, Congressman Eric Swalwell slept with a Chinese spy. What happened to standards in politics is the crazy part for me. DUIs used to be death sentences, and now we have people like Congressman David Min, who's on probation because he got a DUI that was elected into Congress. We have to bring back standards to our political atmosphere. We need the people here in California, again, to elect people who truly care and are not utilizing this for their own individual gains, like Congressman Eric Swalwell, like Katie Porter, like all of the others that are just using this for their own support.
If Katie Porter were to be elected governor, how much would that ruin the lives of your Democratic colleagues in Sacramento?
Oh man, I might try to ban potatoes if that happens, but we'll see. It's going to be there's the way I've described Sacramento right now is there's a large circular firing squad that is really kind of happening. Labor unions right now are in conflicts with some tribes. Environmentalists are in conflicts with labor unions, and then groups are all starting to really pull apart at each other. The teachers union fighting against charter schools. And so this is the silver lining that we have being in the super minority for the Republican side, is that if they have 100% of the power, they should receive 100% of the blame. And we've got to do a better job at highlighting that. The unfortunate thing is, one, I pray that Katie Porter does not become our governor, because I just don't think I just think her level of vitriol, how she's treated staff, that's a reflection on her personal side as well. We've already seen the political side, and that would just be terrible. Again, when it comes to Congressman Swalwell, clearly he doesn't have any morals and values when he openly sleeps with a Chinese spy, and he also is registered to live in a different state and is now running here and shot his entire campaign video at a home in Virginia or wherever he was at. So if we can just vote for the best Californian, I support Steve Hilton. Steve's a good friend of mine. I've helped write policies for his. I also believe that any Republican that actually has some common sense to them, I like Chad Bianco as well, and I'm encouraging people that if 10,000 Democrats want to jump in, support our top two Republicans, and let's force them. Will probably be the last time we'll ever have a jungle primary again in California if that happens, but it is a possibility. I have seen the data. It's about 3 out of 10 samples have been shown to actually show that we could get a top two Republican election if some of the other Republicans pull out.
We know that Gavin Newsom has a bad relationship with the Democrats in Sacramento because he does not look at the legislature as a co-equal branch of government. During COVID, he ruled the state like a king without any input from the state legislature. On a secret ballot, how many of your colleagues, your Democratic colleagues in Sacramento, do you think are going to vote for Gavin Newsom in the Democratic primary for president?
Oh, I mean, you should hear what they say about him when he's not around. But, it just seems like when it comes to fighting Donald Trump, they are willing to swallow their own pride. And they'd support Gavin Newsom. I mean, that's what's showing right now. There are people, I have friends in other states that are elected officials as well. And I'm like, what are you hearing from some of your Democrat colleagues? They're like, they love Newsom. And because they just don't know how bad it is. A lot of other states actually do know. There's this huge fear that is shown that California is, everything's burnt down. We have homeless everywhere and everything is broken and boarded up because of crime. So I do think my colleagues here would swallow that pill if it does seem like Governor Newsom has the best chances at beating J.D. Vance in the future, or Marco Rubio, or anybody else. He, again, has primed himself. They've modeled their campaigns. The current governor candidates have modeled their campaigns after Gavin Newsom. Because Gavin Newsom, I will say, he's extremely intelligent. He understands how the political games work and the weaponized emotional drive that he's doing with setting himself up as the anti-Trump guy. But he's technically just set himself up as Trump Democrat with his marketing style, with his media, going on podcasts, trying to answer that. So I really do think they'd swallow their pride, and they're just going to throw up the best person. I mean, I've had colleagues of mine that truly believe Donald Trump is similar to Hitler, similar to Mussolini, similar to dictators. And I've asked them, I was like, what person has ever come into power that we have an example of 4 years ago, hasn't killed anybody at all, that you can actually make that equivalent? I think that the first case where I think somebody could be a dictator is let's let them kill one person first, and then we can go from there.
All right. Assemblyman David Tangipa, a Republican representing Fresno. You can get him on X at David Tangipa. Assemblyman, thanks so much for stopping by.
All right, thank you. Call me anytime you need me.
800-222-5222 is a telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you want to weigh in on the HOA madness or interview with David Tangipa, if you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, now that we've hit the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
I mean, there's other stuff to do, but sure, keep listening to us. Why not? You can listen to this show when you're doing literally anything. You could even try listening to this show while you're listening to other shows, but I wouldn't recommend it. Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube. You can get the free KABC app, get the free KSFO app, get the KMJ Now app. We're on that station Saturdays at 2. There are so many ways to listen live to our radio stations when the stream is working and download all the podcasts. You can get all the Ricardo Lara loveliness that you expect from this crap.
Hell no.
Let's go to Mark in San Diego. Mark, hello.
John, 30 years ago, I had a dream that was personal property rights. And I've realized that does not exist in California. I bought the oldest junker in one of the older neighborhoods, 5-bedroom, 3-bath fixer. And I can tell you since then, it's been a long time, my wife and I, because of work, had taken a job in Northern California where we purchased a little condo that is a homeowners association within a homeowners association. So we have two. We have the condo, and then we have the super HOA of over 2,500 homeowners. And I've had less heartache from that than from my home here that I live in.
Why is that?
Karen. I mean, in my case, it's a guy, but one Karen spoils the pot. That's the way it goes. I believe in personal property rights. If someone wants to rent their unit for vacationers, this guy put up billboards on the side of his truck. He put them right in their face while they're trying. We've got people. And I knew the guy that owned the house that was vacation renting it for a few months before he moved to Hawaii. Great guy. And I felt bad for the families that would come from another country, supposedly to paradise, to rent something for a few weeks near a lot of great things, just to have this Karen in their face every day. He basically petitioned. And now San Diego, if you want to do anything that I thought, hey, man, if I'd wanted to do that, I could make some money, go on vacation. My wife would never let that happen, but she doesn't want any strangers in her home. But it's $5,000 per bedroom just to start, plus all the taxes and fees that they're trying to make off of vacation rentals. So that would be like $30,000 I'd have to put up just to make a house into a vacation. I mean, you talk personal property rights. I think I have a right to do that. Why does the city of San Diego have a right to tell me what to do?
It is so foreign to me to get concerned with what your neighbor is doing to their house or in their house. It would never occur to me to even have an opinion on what color someone's garage door is. I just don't care. Paint it whatever color you want.
What color of skin is the person that's vacationing in the neighbor's house? It's ridiculous. This guy is out of control. But you don't have any control over that. You should be able to have control over their legal right to do it. I mean, because he was a jerk about it is beside the point. But I think that you're fooling yourself if you think you have more rights with a personal piece of old property than you do in a homeowners association within a homeowners association. That's the point I wanted to make to you. And I think you guys are both young, both a lot younger than I am. and I love your show. But
all right.
That's what I wanted to say.
Well, thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. Let's go to Robert in Santa Clara. Robert, hello.
Yeah, this is pertaining to David Tangipa conversation about Newsom's very tactful. You know, he can virtue signal very efficiently and get people to take his side. You know, when they were deporting people, they got a few pictures on the TV, families being taken away immediately. All these people are on the fence who may have voted for Trump, been convinced that voting, against things that's in your best interest immediately become red voters again. Blue voters again. And there's a lot of housewives that don't like Trump's language. There's people who've had their SSDI cut by $400, and the savings account for healthcare it has to work real efficiently. You can't have a little gap of red tape or the Republicans are going to die on these hills, and they're being stupid because Newsom, he's so good at voicing himself. You don't even have to hear what he's saying. As he's got this pose now that he's anti-Trump. He is the anti-Trump. And it resonates. It's popular. It's a populist thing. You have to be popular in order to win. And Newsom has done so much damage. I could talk to people about cap and trade and quadruple down gas taxes and an alternative of 0.2% offset sales tax would have been a very efficient tax to not kill our restaurants off and put them at the Jeopardy cliff and everybody else and have these impossibly, to fund insurance costs and policies. No one listens. It goes right over their head as soon as you mention how Gavin's bad because people believe in him. They've already won the thing. It's the ethnic grievance chip on the shoulder. They want to vote for their people. Trump doesn't realize how malleable people are over ethnicity or some other identity that they have. And they've got to win these battles or we are going to get destroyed in the midterms. And even before that, we have confiscatory property taxes. Guys who say they don't want to be taxed out of their homes, they'll vote for Newsom. They'll be taxed right out of their homes. We can't repeal Prop 19 because it's the messaging. It's people believe in this stuff, and they'll vote against their best interest. And it's like you said, John, it's the electorate. We have a problem with the electorate. They are malleable. You got to deal with human nature, though. And the Republicans are very weak at this point. And they have to step up their game like 100-fold, or else they're just going to get cooked forever. And we're all going to suffer.
Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. All right. So there is a program in Oakland that our girl Shang Tao used to talk about all the time. Remember that, Randy? Operation Ceasefire.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This was something that was in effect before Shang. It got defunded right before Shang. And Shang said the reason that crime is so high is because we don't have ceasefire. The whole idea of ceasefire is that you get members of the community and nonprofits to life coach the gang members into not shooting each other constantly.
And it's not just an Oakland thing. They have it all over. But at least one big city mayor in California says the program is a bunch of BS.
So there was recently, and we've talked about this, a horrific shooting at a kid's birthday party in Stockton. And there are some organizations that look at that and see an opportunity to cash in, including a nonprofit that has nothing to do with Stockton that is now touting that they're going to orchestrate a gang ceasefire for 21 days. And the mayor of Stockton isn't believing any of this for a minute.
Good.
For more, we go to KCRA 3 in Sacramento.
In the wake of the mass shooting, a nonprofit says it helped pause gang violence in Stockton. But city officials question whether or not the group has any real ties to the city.
Which means they're looking for money.
Yep. Let's not forget, John, what we learned about in Los Angeles earlier this year. For many, many years, during the Karen Bass administration, during the Eric Garcetti administration, even the Antonio Villaraigosa administration, one of the nonprofits that we were paying thousands and thousands of dollars every year, millions of dollars over the last decade to, was a nonprofit that was supposed to be an after-school program for kids that were at risk of being in a gang. And what did we find out? The nonprofit was actually the front for a gang.
You don't say.
What do you know about Stockton that we haven't published? Who do you know in Stockton? Who do you truly have ties to in our city? Because we have hardworking people in this city, and none of them know who you are.
Good for her.
On its website, the Youth Peace and Justice Foundation, also known as the Uvalde Foundation for Kids, says that it's dedicated to ending violence, advocating for youth welfare, and promoting community safety.
Sure.
And how much government money do you get?
The organization is stepping forward with bold claims of peace by helping broker a 21-day gang ceasefire that the mayor of Stockton.
If we know, here's what I never understand about these ideas like the ones in Oakland or what this nonprofit is touting. If you know where all the gang members are and you know that they're armed to the teeth with illegal guns, why are they not all in prison right now?
Well, and how many of them do you think have warrants out for their arrest? How many of them do you think have other issues going on that would warrant them being arrested and thrown in prison? You're 100% correct. If you can identify them, take them off the streets.
That the mayor of Stockton says she cannot verify.
Nowhere can I find work that they've done with a gang, nor can I confirm that anybody is even in here in Stockton, nor can I confirm that they've actually met with any of our gang members.
So it's all made up?
Well, this is how the nonprofit world operates. There are government contracts to be had in these offices of violence prevention.
All of those departments should be defunded.
Through only emailed press releases, the nonprofit is demanding that city leaders implement a group violence intervention model. It says this is a zero-cost political commitment to reevaluate and adopt the proven GVI model.
Proven what?
None of this makes any sense at all.
Nope, but this is the kind of crap that local governments fall for all the time.
Political commitment to reevaluate and adopt the proven GVI model for long-term violence reduction.
Tomorrow on our agenda, we have an item that our Office of Violence Prevention has received a grant.
Oh, see, Stockton does have one of these. So this is what happens. These nonprofits seek out these cities that have these offices of violence prevention, violence reduction, gang intervention, what have you, and they have all kinds of programs to sell to you for grant money.
So they know that Stockton's the mark.
In the amount of $8 million over the next few years. This isn't just a one-year grant. This is over the next, I want to say, 3 years. And I'm just thinking that they want a piece of that pie.
I mean, you look at certain nonprofits, you know, one of them that gets talked about a lot on this show is Urban Alchemy, which was relatively obscure before COVID, but then all of a sudden started getting contracts not just to do ambassador work in San Francisco, but also to run a homeless shelter in San Francisco, even though the majority of the people that make up Urban Alchemy are ex-cons with no training in anything.
There is big money in this world.
Adding that in part by voting yes.
We need to start a nonprofit.
It's still not worth it.
Adding that in part by voting yes on the $8 million grant and ignoring the resolution, the council will have chosen misaligned money over life-saving peace.
They didn't want us to accept.
So this organization that, again, is not from California, not from Stockton, not from California, is sending letters threatening that you need to support our program because we say it works. And hey, can we have that $8 million?
And it sounds like they're just coming in like a bulldozer trying to knock these people over and take the money.
They didn't want.
Well, it sure is a flashy headline grabber. We negotiated a ceasefire with the gangs. How'd you do that?
How do these people not end up in prison?
Some of them do. Unfortunately, a lot of this grifting is perfectly legal.
They didn't want us to accept it. I think that's what the message said. Why would we turn down money to help us expand services?
And that's the other part of this is, you know, Christina Fugazi sounds good right now, but there's plenty of grift money going around in Stockton as well that I'm sure she's plenty fine with.
Oh, this is how Shane got in trouble. Throwing things that didn't belong to her around to people who were contributors, people who were her benefactors, whether it's the seat on a board or a commission or a contract, whatever the case may be. And this is unethical and in some cases illegal.
To get to the very people that they're saying that they're working on peace with.
We've reached out to the organization for nearly a week, and it continues to decline our request for an interview. In Stockton, I'm Anahita Jafari, KCRA 3 News.
So this organization that sends out nonstop press releases refuses to do interviews when the press asks them a question.
Oh, because they'd ask 5 questions and then it would all fall apart.
In a statement to KCRA3, the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office says it doesn't publicly promote ceasefires that are not verifiable through official means. The Sheriff's Office says...
I cannot understand this concept of a ceasefire. So you know where the gangs are that keep shooting at each other and all the collateral damage? Why are they not all put away?
And if you can get them to stop shooting each other for 21 days, why not get them to stop shooting each other permanently?
The Sheriff's Office says, quote, ceasefire claims can create confusion, elevate risk, and unintentionally compromise public safety. Right now, there is a combined $130,000 reward for information leading to an arrest in this case. You can scan the QR code there on your screen.
So there you go. That's the latest thing that's going on in the wake of that Stockton shooting, where a nonprofit that has nothing to do with Stockton says, hey, we're negotiating a ceasefire with all your gangs. Give us money.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
After the LA fires, when $100 million was raised, and all of these organizations that had nothing to do with anything came in and took it, and the fire victims were left with nothing.
That's the game.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Will writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com on the subject of your interview with David Tangipa. Rob Bonta must hate Tangipa, but must love his name. Topanga Tangipa.
In Topanga.
Don't know if you saw this, but there was a piece that broke over the weekend in Axios that talked about Gavin Newsom as a potential candidate for president. And what was interesting was the spin that they put on a potential Gavin Newsom candidacy, where they said that based on conversations with more than 20 Democratic operatives, including people working for presidential candidates who are not Gavin Newsom, Axios laid out the blunt assessment that Newsom may be the front runner, but he's also the most vulnerable. And don't forget, before Newsom would run against J.D. Vance or any other Republican, he would have to get out of a Democratic primary. And his Democratic primary opponents are going to do what they have to do to knock him down a peg or two. And if Gavin Newsom and his record in California is going to give them a lot of ammunition to use against him, they will be more than happy to do that.